This is the Epoch Times.
Welcome to Epoch Audio, showcasing the best journalism covering news, culture, and society, addressing issues overlooked or avoided by other media. For the text version of this and more articles providing truth, tradition, and hope, please go to theepochtimes.com.
A population of hard-to-eradicate super pigs in Canada is threatening to invade the U.S. by Steve Karnowski. Minneapolis. An exploding population of hard-to-eradicate super pigs in Canada is threatening to spill south of the border, and northern states like Minnesota, North Dakota, and Montana are taking steps to stop the invasion. In Canada, wild pigs roaming Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba pose a new threat. They're often crossbreeds that combine the survival skills of wild Eurasian boar with the size and high fertility of domestic swine to create a super pig that's spreading out of control. Ryan Brook, a professor at the University of Saskatchewan and one of Canada's leading authorities on the problem, called feral swine the most invasive animal on the planet and an ecological train wreck. Pigs are not native to North America. While they've roamed parts of the continent for centuries, Canada's problem dates back only to the 1980s, when it encouraged farmers to raise wild boar, Mr. Brooks said. The market collapsed after peaking in 2001, and some frustrated farmers simply cut their fences, setting the animals free. It turned out that the pigs were very good at surviving Canadian winters. Smart, adaptable, and furry, they eat anything, including crops and wildlife. They tear up land when they root for bugs and crops. They can spread devastating diseases to hog farms like African swine fever, and they reproduce quickly. A sow can have 6 piglets in a litter and raise 2 litters in a year. That means 65% or more of a wild pig population could be killed every year, and it will still increase. Hunting just makes the problem worse, he said. The success rate for hunters is only about 2% to 3%, and several states have banned hunting because it makes the pigs more wary and nocturnal, tougher to track down and eradicate. Wild pigs already cause around $2.5 billion in damage to U.S. crops every year, mostly in southern states like Texas, and they can be aggressive toward humans. A woman in Texas was killed by wild pigs in 2019. Mr. Brooks said, eradication of wild pigs is no longer possible in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. But the situation isn't hopeless everywhere, and a few U.S. states have eliminated them. The key, he said, is having a detection system that finds them early and fast, and then responding quickly. Mr. Brook and his colleagues have documented 62,000 wild pig sightings in Canada. Their aerial surveys have spotted them on both sides of the Canada-North Dakota border. They've also recorded a sighting in Manitoba within 18 miles or 28 kilometers of Minnesota. He said nobody should be surprised when pigs start walking across that border if they haven't already. The question is, what will be done about it? He said Montana has been the most serious about keeping wild pigs out. It banned raising and transporting wild pigs within the state. He said the only path forward is you have to be really aggressive and you have to use all the tools in the toolbox. That could include big ground traps with names like Boar Buster or net guns fired from helicopters. Some states and provinces embrace crowdsourced squeal-on-pigs tracking programs. Scientists have also studied poisons such as sodium nitrate, but they risk harming other species. Minnesota is among the states trying to prevent the swine from taking hold. The state's Department of Natural Resources is expected to release a report in February identifying gaps in its management plan and recommend new prevention steps. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Agriculture is using aircraft and drones to beef up surveillance along the northern border. Minnesota was declared an eradicated state after the USDA Wildlife Services shot and killed a group of pigs in 2016 that wandered off a farm and turned feral in the far northwest corner of the state, but not before they began to reproduce and root up a wildlife preserve. Gary Norenberg, the Minnesota Director of Wildlife Services, said as far as he knows, no truly wild pigs have made their way to his state, yet. Feral swine have been reported in at least 35 states, according to the USDA. The agency estimates the swine population in those states totals around 6 million. Since launching the National Feral Swine Management Program in 2014, the USDA has provided funding to 33 states, said Mike Marlowe, an assistant program director. He said their goal is to eradicate wild pigs while the populations are low and emerging, and to limit the damage where they're already established, such as Texas and northeastern states. He said the program has had success in some states that had small populations like Vermont, New York, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and Washington. The animals are spotted occasionally and quickly killed off in North Dakota. Mr. Marlowe said, "I think we're making great strides towards success, but eradication is not in the near future." Thanks for listening to Epoch Audio. This was Population of Hard-to-Eradicate Super Pigs in Canada is Threatening to Invade the U.S., written by Steve Karnowski and read for you by Chris Rod.
For more Epoch Times articles in text, please visit theepochtimes.com.
This is the Epoch Times.